Bringing this meeting to order, just advising you this final meeting for this term of the council, and it's a privilege to be sharing this meeting tonight. And the mayor will be showing up for some presentation. But everybody knows that I love my gavel when I get to sit in this chair. So tonight I brought my own gavel just so we can make sure that things went along well. Here's my own gavel, Deputy Mayor on it. It's my gavel. It's good evening, council members of the public. Before we begin, I have two amendments to the council agenda tonight that I would like to bring to your attention. As we have a number of presentations tonight, recognizing outgoing members of council and a special presentation by NPP Brian Saunders and Council Walker for his 31 years of service in the municipal sector, I would like to amend the agenda to item 5.1 and 5.2 to be considered after the approval of the agenda. And may I have a mover seconder to amend the agenda to consider the items 5.1 and 5.2 after being approval of the agenda? All in favor? Motion carried. I would also like to note that items 6.1 and 6.2 will be considered at 6:30 p.m. in accordance with the notification provided under the Planning Act. Therefore, items 6.1 and 6.2 will be postponed until 6:30, at which time the presentation by staff, consultants, and comments from the members of the public will be. May I have a mover? Councillor Walker, Councillor Leishman, all in favor? Gary, that's great. Thanks so much. Okay, so I have be a result of council of the township of Clearview hereby approves the agenda dated November 7, 2022 as amended. Councillor Roderick, Councillor Walker, all in favor? Carry. Okay, Madam Clerk. Okay, we're going to start off with the recognition certificate. And I believe Mr. Mayor is going to come forward.
Deputy Mayor, for the council, for the staff, and for allowing me this privilege to be there for a few moments today to make a presentation to the outgoing members of our council. So if I could, I'd like to ask each of the councilors to come forward. We're lining up Councilor Chambers, who are first lead. Come forward, we'll make a presentation. All the rest of our council will be today. By the way, Deputy Mayor, you're doing a fine job. Thanks very much. Warriors, sorry, I appreciate it. I'll always remember our Billy Ring. Thank you. Thank you. Next is Councilor McKechnie. Get my good side, please. Over here, sir. Four years of bliss. 4 years of bliss. Now I'd like to ask Councillor Connie Leishman to come forward. Oh, Councillor Leishman.
Hello.
Nice to see you. 8 years of service, right? Another award I'd like to give out tonight is the Councillor Compact. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Burton. you could relieve yourself of the responsibility of chair. Come forward. Thank you for all your help. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now for a special presentation, we'd like to invite Robert Walker to come. Robert Walker was actually successful in the recent election. So we have some special awards for Robert Walker. And I'll invite our MVP, Brian Saunderson, to join me up here as well. You want to say something, Brian, as Robert gets forward?
Robert, congratulations. Campaign life. Congratulations on your reelection. Thank you. Dedicated community mind. 5 years.
I'm living in our places. You know what? We deserve this community for 30 years. And, you know, we're touching this.
Yeah.
All right, Stan, you guys see? Congratulations, Robert. Thank you. So Deputy Mayor, can you leave, but I leave with your council and departments tonight. And Monday to stay, and you know, I'm doing the meetings, they're, I do want to, a great term, you know, getting short term and.
Okay. Along with the rest of our meeting. First I have to ask members of council, does anybody have exposure for human interest in general nature thereof? Councilor Walker.
Yes, your worship, point of interest. PW dash 036-2022. Dole Street, Sundale Street, reconstruction, and services can be results. As a resident living on the street, I will abstain from, that vote.
Thank you. Okay, item number 4, public participation. Be advised that comments and views expressed in the public participation are not the views of the township of Clearview, council, or the administration. Public participation is limited to 15 minutes. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions and comments are being directed to me, the chair. Questions shall not be personal matters, litigation, or potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting, or any item considered confidential. Please remember the shared time of your fellow citizens. Anybody? Once? No, twice. Okay, deputations and presentations. Have been moved, we already dealt with that. Public meetings have been moved. There we are. So item 6.1, draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw. Number 7, approval of council minutes. Be it resolved that the council of the township of Clearview hereby approves the minutes of the October 3rd, 2022 council meeting and minutes of the planning public meeting September 28, 2022 as presented. Councilor Walker. Questions, comments? Favor? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes, if any? Communication from the mayor, I think that. Closed session reports. Be resolved that the council of the township hereby directs the purchase and or acquisition of property located at 3122 Concession Street South, Mississauga, by the township to be funded from the land sale reserve. Robert. Councilor Mayers, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. 9.2, Township Dairy Healthcare Connect System for members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, more homes built faster on Ontario's Housing Law Action Plan. The Simcoe County District School Board barriers contributing to the delay of the capital projects. Does anybody want to poll 9.2, 9.3, or 9.4? No? Be resolved that the Council Township hereby receives communications listed as 9.2 to 9.4 on the agenda and file as information. Councilor Roger. Councilor Madison, and Councilor Fernanda. All in favor? Next one is item number 10, county reports and information. County council tonight. County of Simcoe staff report affordable rents, house prices, and tracking of secondary suites. County of Simcoe waste survey confirmed the county of growing and direct. Anybody want to poll either one of those items? Councilor McKechnie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not any of those two items in particular. I don't have anything on those two items in particular, but I have a general question regarding Chelsea.
Okay.
So I think the question that I have is best directed to the treasurer. So I saw in the paper today that county council have approved or are looking at what is it, 3.5% increase to the taxes. So in the past, county have come up with, I think that 2 years ago was 0% increase, and last year was 2% increase. So the question for Kelly, the treasurer, is that this higher increase in the request for the taxes that almost double. What's your best guess that that would add on to our taxes? Would that be, so if they're looking at almost a 4% increase, so would that be at about 2% to our taxes? Is that what we're looking at?
Through the chair, Councilor McKechnie, to be honest with you, I don't know right now. I'm asking to keep out as low as I can.
Right.
And hope that our growth comes in as high as we're expecting. We are collecting.
Thank you. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I just read that today, and I was just curious about it. I know we've been very fortunate in the last 4 years that county have not hit us with big taxes. And that we've been able to pass that on to residents and keep our taxes low. I think the new council are going to have a challenge ahead of them, so taxes low. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, and I just might add that the new county council of the 32 members is going to be 22 basis at the next county meeting that you're going to have. So that'll be a big change. So those are on the recommendations that forward to that over the years. So it's taking time where we have to take those steps. That's why the recommendation. Any questions? No? Okay, be it resolved that council on the township of Clearview hereby receives county reports for information in 5 minutes information. And the mover. The namers. Let me break the hand of John, so you can see it. Councillor Lamers and Councillor Walker. All in favor? Department report. And building. DB 061 2022 official plan and zoning bylaw amendment 1996. North Saga and 7.8 Side Road. Be resolved that the council township Clearview hereby received report DB 061 2022 official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment 1996 section 6 North Saga 7181 Side Road dated November 7th, 2022. Number 2, that the bylaw 22-83 being a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment 23 to be presented to council for approval, and that bylaw 22-84 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 06-54 be presented to council for approval. Councilor Leishman and Councilor Walker. Comments or questions from anybody on council? None? Then call for the vote. Oh, sorry, Councilor Walker.
With just Mr. Your Worship, the Roslyn is here. I'm going to result of her.
Before I'd like to add a little bit of additional information for all of council.
Hi, good evening. I have to admit I'm having a hard time hearing what the question was. So could someone repeat what was asked?
Yeah, Councilor Walker, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, just wondering if you had any further comments with regards to this motion before we take vote.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. And no, we did not receive any other public comments on this application. If you recall, we did have the public meeting in July of July 27th of 2022. And from that meeting, we, as I said, didn't receive any additional comments. So.
Councilor Walker, are you satisfied with that? Okay, and anybody else? Okay, Councilor Leishman.
Thank you. I'm actually really glad to see this, if it does pass. Because I really know that we need extra housing in this township, and no farmer really wants to be a landlord. So I think doing this, and the more that we approve, the less houses we have.
Thank you, Councilor. Anything else? None? Clerk, please. All in favor? Oh. DB 062 2022 video adjustment October report recommendation Be resolved that the council of the township hereby receive report PB 62 2022, Committee of Adjustment Report, October report dated November 7th for information. Mr. Broderick. Mr. Walker. Any comments or questions? None? All in favor? Motion carries. Next item, PB 063-2022 zoning bylaw amendment 29, 31, 35, 39 Warrior Reed, Carolina Street. Recommendation, be resolved that the council of the township of Clearview hereby receive the report PB 063-2022 zoning bylaw amendment 29, 31, 35, 39 Warrior Carolina Street, West Fremont. Bylaw 22-85 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 06-54 be presented to council for approval, and that the bylaw 22-86 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 0654 be presented to council for approval. Comments to all Kevin Luger first. Councilor Walker.
Heritage preservation, the paramount, I was reviewing the staff report. The old school building should be preserved and continue to serve as it should stand as a remembrance of those who attended the school and helped build our community. My hope is that the exterior is substantially developed. Adding to our residential choices is a good way. This evening, we're only asked to approve the zoning to a residential suite. There is both support and concerns for the development. Ensuring that the development is a good fit in the community and that it does not impact on the safety and well-being of the neighboring properties. Part of the site plan control process that follows on from this amending of the zoning bylaw. That process will consider other matters that concern our neighbors, such as noise, lighting, project climate change land. Due regard should also be given to our two-zone hazard land special overlay policy. As this site is located only within the Niagara River regulatory zone. Repurposing of the old school building, protecting the existing property owners and surrounding neighborhood from natural hazard impacts, and adding more housing choices are not mutually exclusive objectives. I urge all three principal parties to this development, the township, and the development, to work towards a mutually beneficial final plan, each respects their objectives, and
Thank you for your comments, and I would just reiterate the two things. We are only approving the design amendment this time. We are not approving the site plan. Building. Anything else? Anybody else want to ask anyone? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for your comments. Go on to Public Works. PW 035-20, Fremont Water and Wastewater update. Be it resolved that the Township Clearview hereby receive report PW 035-2022, Fremont Water and Wastewater Plant update dated November 7th. I have a little bit. Councilor Broderick. Mayors. Any comments or questions? Did Director Ross Colin want to make any comments about this?
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Member. Just to let council know, we'll see, there's a public information center on December 1st, more community center. Encourage people to come in. You will notice one difference. The website I quoted in the report has changed slightly. It will still get to the website, but we made it a little more easy to find, and the new web page will be in the notes posted to the newspapers on the 17th of November. This appendix B in the report, it's going to be the same I posted in the newspaper, but it will have the website. There's a dedicated website to the master service plan for Fremont.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none? Vote all in favor. Okay, carried. Next item, BW-036-2022, Phillips Street and Sunnydale Street reconstruction and services tender result. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby received report BW-036-2022, Phillips Street and Sunnydale Street reconstruction and services tender results dated November 7th, 2022. And item number 2, award the tender submitted by Primrose Contracting Ontario Inc. in the amount of $10,944,000, including HST, to build infrastructure and to reconstruct Phillips and Sunnydale Street as described in tender 2022-12 summer report BW-036-2022. I'm going to ask Mr. Ron to make a comment so we can talk about that. Bob, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just to clarify, that number was excluding HST. Big difference when the numbers did really low. Yeah, so we had, as the report indicates, we had 6 bidders. Bidders 2 and 3 were quite familiar with the first bidder, not as familiar with our engineers. Contact about references. The $1 million difference. I contacted one reference myself. Local one was at the beach, and sounds like they're going to do the work and put them in line well.
Any comments? Councilor McKechnie.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, Primrose, they're not getting very glowing report from the burn sites. Apparently, they're difficult to deal with. Are they? Is that what you understand? Schedule runs and can you expand on that, Paul?
So the burn site reports, they contacted their references, and on occasion, every contract generally has a there's extras, right? This particular contractor, we contacted all of the reference provided, and everybody gave positive response. So some overruns, but $1 million would be a lot to leave on the table if for some reason we chose to use the second bidder.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree. $1 million is a lot of money. I'm just looking at Burnside's report, and they said regarding Primrose that, however, they have a tendency for significant schedule overruns on projects and would be difficult to deal with during negotiation changes. But I guess we have to weigh that statement against the $1 million. So $1 million is $1 million. I'll vote in favor of this report, but yeah, that one line there, that one sentence that we're. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions from council? Okay, I'm going to vote for the vote. All in favor? Did we have a mover and second here? Not sure. So have a mover, please. Councilor Broderick. And Councilor McKechnie said he needed support, so I'm going to put you as a secretary. Okay, Councilor Meacham. Sorry, Councilor Meacham. So now we have a minute and second. Do I need to read it one more time? Happy. Okay, all in favor, vote, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, DW dash 037 dash deeming bylaw 272 Warrington Road. Be it resolved that council of the township of Clearview hereby report DW dash 2022 deeming bylaw for 272 Warrington Road dated November 7th for information, and bylaw 22-88 be presented to council for authorization. Have a mover. Councillor Broderick, Councillor Walker. Any comments or questions? None, all in favor? Motion carried. Emergency Services, FD 003/2022, City of Barrie Technical Rescue Memorandum of Understanding. Be it resolved that the Council of Township of Clearview hereby receive report FD 003/2022, City of Barrie Technical Rescue dated November 7th, 2022, and that a bylaw being enacted authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into a renewal agreement with the City of Barrie to provide technical rescue services for 2023 to 2027, confined space, trench rescue, hazmat, ice water rescue, and blow behind angle rescue to the township of Clearview.
Not feasible for Clearview by these technical services, so that's why we contracted to be very applied.
Very good, thank you. I need a mover and seconder for this. Councillor Leishman, Councillor Walker, all in favor? Motion carries. Emergency management bylaw update. Recommendation: be it resolved that council of the township of Clearview hereby receive report FD 004/2022 emergency management bylaw update dated 2023. Bylaw being enacted adopting the emergency management program, emergency response plan. And move it. Mr. Broderick. Councilor Neighbors. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, this will moving along here. Official plan amendment number 23, recommendation. Be it resolved that bylaw 20-H3, the bylaws amendment number 23 to the official plan to the township of Clearview be presented and read first, second, and third time, and finally passed the seventh day of November. Councillor, see you there. Councillor McKechnie, and I think Councillor Leishman had that too. So, okay, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Zoning bylaw amendment number 22-84. 1996 concession 6 North Nottawasaga and 7181 3334 Side Road Nottawasaga. Recommendation. Be it resolved that the bylaw 22-84 being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and character, location, and use of buildings and structures on lands municipally known as 1996 concession 6 North Nottawasaga and 7181 3334 Side Road Nottawasaga. Locally described the south part of lot 30, north part of lot 33, section 7, registered 51R5043, part 1, and RP 51R14644, part 1, and RP 51R28127, part 1, formerly Nottawasaga Township, now in the township of Clearview, presented and read first, second, third time. Finally passed on the 7th. You need to move it. Councillor Robert. And a second here, Councillor Lakers. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. I got it. Designing 2285 zoning bylaw amendment 31 Caroline Street West, Fremont. Be resolved that bylaw 22-85 being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and in character location and use of buildings and structures on land municipally known as 31 Caroline Street West, Fremont, legally described as lot 42, 44 on the plan 315, formerly Fremont, now in the township of Clearview, presented in red first, second, and third time, and finally passed the seventh day. Councilor Broderick, I need a second there. Councilor McKechnie. Any questions or comments? None? Call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. 22-86 zoning bylaw amendment 29, 35, 39, and 43 Caroline Street West, Fremont. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 22-86 a bylaw to regulate the use of land in the character location of 29, 35, 139, and 43 Caroline Street West, Fremont, and legally described as lot 41, 45, 46, and 47. Plan 315, formerly Fremont, now in the township of Clearview, be presented in red the first, the second, and third time, and finally passed the seventh day of November. I have a mover, please. Councilor Leishman just grabbed her thing that I saw in there, and I'm gonna look to the other side of the table for secondary Councilor Walker. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay. Okay, 2287, management program and emergency response plan bylaw. Be it resolved that the bylaw 22-87 bylaw to adapt an emergency management program, the emergency response plan for the township pursuant to section 2.1 subsection 1 of the Emergency Act and the Emergency Management Act be presented in the first, second, third time, and finally passed the seventh day of November 2022. I have a rule. Go ahead, John Hivers and Mr. McKechnie. Any questions or comments? Once, on twice. Okay, calling for the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. 22-88. See the clerk's writing notes. Okay. We can pass that after the question. Okay, 22-8 gaming bylaw 272 Warrington Road. Be it resolved that bylaw 22-88 a bylaw to deem a portion of registered plan 384 in the former township of Nottoswell on the township of Clearview not to be a registered plan subdivision for the purpose of section 50 bracket 3 of the planning act be presented and read the first, second, and third time rather than the day of November. Councilor Broderick. Councilor Walker. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, Lock Anthony. 2289. Recommendation be resolved that bylaw 22-89 being a bylaw to recover a portion of the capital cost related to the construction of services, including sanitary sewer, water main, and street urbanization work for those receiving present future benefit from the services. In the community standard to extend services presented and ran the first, second, and third time, finally passed the seventh day. I think this is the one we're not moving on. Mr. Walker, is that correct? Oh, was it? Okay, sorry, I missed this one. Okay, we'll move it, please. Leishman and Broderick. Any questions? Might have to reset. City of Barry Technical Services, memorandum of understanding bylaw 2291, recommendation be it resolved that the bylaw 22-91 being a bylaw to enter into memorandum of understanding within the City of Barry for provisions of technical rescue services be presented and read the first, second, third time and finally passed the 7th day of November 2022. Mover, please. Councilor Wyrick, Councilor Walker. Any comments or questions? No? Okay, and all in favor? And now going, we still have time until 6:30 before we do our public meetings. I'm going to do the board reports. I'm going to start at the end, so we skip over those. But things that are going on. So I'll start with Councilor Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not really a whole lot other than youth committee, just a little update. They had 50 individual drop-ins in the month of September. Collectively, they had 215 and 13 new youth. Picking up speed, momentum, at the center with their numbers. Great programming, great staff, and talked to some of the kids, and they're very positive of the way they're treated and just the whole atmosphere within the center. So again, one of the best things the council ever did was fight for and put in. Thank you, Mr. Secretary Burton, for leading that forward for the youth center. The other thing I want to say is the board report is just to say to the counselors that are leaving, thank you for being part of this. A great team that for the last 4 years at least, and some are longer than that, worked together well. And I think we collectively have moved this township forward into a good position to continue to move forward with the next council. And I'm hoping that that council will do the same, work together, be a team, continue to move things forward.
And thank you for your comments about the youth center. And I thank you, Councilor Walker, for his continued efforts, continuing to push that forward. And I have no hesitation in saying the youth center in town, and probably the most successful. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, my version. Just a couple of little things. For turnout rate, already a lot of complaints of people not being able to get on, trouble trying to get on the votes. A lot of complaints over that just before the election. Friday, I will be attending the People Legion for the Remembrance Day ceremonies and parade. And I would like to thank everyone for their support over the last 4 years of my ceremony council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Patterson.
Okay, thank you. I should mention we're getting a business. In the corner of Francis and Sherry and Sandy. Beside the river with fire in there. The fire and very exciting. And so there is have some comments that we're going to pass on. I think it goes to the mention share.
Can we finish the report first and if we have time? And then when new business will check out the applicants.
Simple to say that I spent my time speaking.
Go ahead,
I've got a report from the small halls. that our little concert with Hot Pants did very well. We made over $1,000, I think almost $1,100, if not more. So I thought that was pretty nice for a little bit of work we did, and I think the township deserves kudos for that because they did most of the heavy lifting on this one. And the Kinsman for helping out with the bar, of course, and all the people that came and enjoyed themselves, and all those that danced on the floor and made that. That's pretty cool. So, yeah. And one of those. I've received no complaints about the election. Nobody talked to me. I'm okay with it. Other than that, I'll say my farewells at the end.
Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Cover the, total and the, small balls. Especially I just wanted to say thank you to all who participated in this process.
Thank you. Councilor.
Thank you. So I was pleased to represent the township at the Habitat for Humanity tea turnover presentation on Saturday. Met the new tenants of the house, Kevin and Rebecca and their kids. They're a lovely couple. House is situated on Ward 4. So I was very happy to tell them that if they have any complaints, to see Robert Walker. And this is probably my last council meeting, unless there's a special meeting between now and next week. I had a few thoughts. Is it now the appropriate time, or?
Sure, I think I know the last speech. But
So, I got sitting down and wrote down a couple of thoughts, and I reflected back on 4 years ago. Ed Christie and I, we used to sit on the front porch drinking a few beers. It's amazing how smart you get after you've had a few beers. And we talked about what we wanted to focus on if we were elected. And so we decided that we would focus on protecting the environment, keeping our tax increases low, and beautifying the township a little bit, cleaning it up. And so how have we done? How have I done? Well, on protecting the environment, I'm happy that the council passed my motion to recognize the climate crisis. We will be forming a climate action committee. And we hopefully will include the climate emergency in the next strategic plan review. I know there's more work to be done on that, and I hope the council moves that forward. We also passed the Cannabis 5 production bylaw. So that going forward, large cannabis production facilities such as Peace Naturals are not built on primary agricultural land, but in properly zoned agri-industrial areas. And during our long and sometimes testy discussions on the ATV bylaw, I was proud to be able to defend the environment by restricting the ATVs in Ward 2 to the roads and keeping them out of as many environmentally sensitive areas as possible, such as unused road allowances. As far as keeping our tax increases low, I'm proud that this council was able to keep our tax increases to about 2% per year on average. A little bit more, a little bit less, but they were around 2% per year. What we didn't do, I believe, it's my opinion, we didn't make the tough decisions about the small halls. So this council voted to bring all 6 halls up to AODA standards, which is going to cost millions of dollars. I hope the new council takes a serious look at considering other alternatives. And we also have sign bylaws, especially regulating billboards. We have shipping container bylaws that will help clean up the township. We hired another bylaw officer specifically to enforce derelict property problems. And in Ward 2, one of our unfinished business items is the old Tennessee garage. It's at a major intersection. I would encourage the township to move the owners along and restarting construction on that intersection has been a real eyesore. I'm happy that we've reduced the size of the council. As I sat at this council table over the last 4 years, I felt we were too large a council. So we reduced it from 9 members to 7. It's my opinion that a smaller council is more focused, tighter, and ultimately stronger. They all have more success at moving their ideas along. So I wish the new council well. And I'm not sure I see Paul here, or other new members of council are here, but I encourage you to speak up and don't be afraid to rock the vote and to be engaged, including outside of the meetings. It may upset a few of your colleagues along the way, but that's okay. You were elected to represent the residents of your community. I'd also like to thank the residents of Ward 2. I hope I've represented them well. We've got many things accomplished. Some large, such as the cannabis bylaws, some small, such as the 4-way stop in St. Hampton. And I'd like to thank the media, Ian and Trina, especially. They've never misquoted me, and I've always reported my views accurately. I'm also amazed at some of the information they receive from other sources. Reading their articles often help me form a balanced opinion. And I'd like to thank the council and staff that I've worked with for the last 4 years. It's been a pleasure working with you. Politics can be a messy business sometimes. We not always agree. And I know that sometimes you've been pissed off with me. Well, don't worry, the feeling is sometimes been mutual. And the last comment I want to make is that I hope I've served the residents work too well. I've done my best. And to quote Boris Johnson as he was leaving office, mission largely accomplished. Hasta la vista, baby.
Thank you, Council. Okay, I think I'm going to move into new business. It's Councilor Patterson. Anybody else? Be aware that at 6:30 we will be on for a couple.
Thanks. Mostly for the public to be aware, but also for the council to get help on this. I know our staff is already looking at the impact of what's called More Homes Built Faster Materials Housing Supply Action Plan 2022-2023. It's the same piece that was in our the front end of our agenda. The reason I was going to do it in business is I thought it really should be prime business to look at the impact of some of the suggestions. Some of the ideas behind some of the procedural awareness. But the same way that our staff advised us about Bill 109 a couple months ago, intended purpose, one thing, the actual impact may be very difficult to control. Some of the comments that I got from AMO, other agencies that are currently looking at the legislation, they're very concerned about the fact that we're moving away from the concept of growth should fund growth. Concept of developing more
time. But it certainly seems like a downloading of cost onto the existing. That's not just my opinion. Those are people and groups that expect members of the curious enough, it also was undoing recently agreed to recommendations from the minister-led Conservation Authority Working Group on Bill 108. Remember that came on 2019, and they were taking a hard look at the role of conservation authorities. And that working group, again led by the minister, came up with some reasonably good improvements accepted by Conservation Ontario, accepted by the government. This new legislation appears to take some of that back. Again, these are good comments, but not every group. The other thing that's very interesting, especially now that the couple times tonight, we're now engaged in a climate action plan. Some of the work under 23 is contrary to all the actions that are we're now ramping up to combat climate change.
Excuse me, Councillor Patterson, this is a subject that we have the opportunity to bring up when we passed it already, when it's under thing. And I appreciate your comments. Looking at the time, did you have other comments you wanted to make? Council?
No, I'm choosing to bring something that is your attention.
So
is it because?
Well, this was already brought up and you voted on and passed under information. You had the opportunity then to discuss it.
Well, I'll leave it at, I'll leave it.
But I was, you have some comments you'd like to make as being a councillor for something.
May I at least finish my comment?
Sure, but you can say. You work 6:30.
Well, I was looking at the phone. Anyway, it's unfortunate. This is an important comment. Staff is aware. Public should be aware of it. The council should be aware of it. Hard to not let something like this pass or these things in a moderating way. So grab a copy of the bill, take a look at the annual report, read what the news release from Conservation Authority, Conservation Ontario is putting out, their own Conservation Authority in this, and you understand the impact.
Thank you. I obviously wanted to make some comments on your new business. CIO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, council, and audience tonight, we have a new director of planning, Anne, who's here this evening, and this is her first meeting with us. She's no stranger to planning. She comes with a remarkable resume. We're very happy to have her. We want to welcome her.
We will now initiate the public meeting portion of tonight's agenda. We invite you to comment on the applications being presented tonight and to engage in the process with us. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the corporation of the township of Clearview on an application being discussed this evening, please complete the public delegation form. Please submit the form to the recording clerk. Please be advised that your comment or request to be notified will form part of the public record. Your communication and any personal information therein will be made available to the public unless you expressly request it to be. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or written submission to the township with respect to the or a decision is made for bylaws that they are not entitled to appeal the decision to the local appeals tribunal and may not be added as a party to the agreement of an appeal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds. The following public meetings will involve a brief presentation by our planning staff, an opportunity for the applicant for their agent to present their application, period for public comments, any questions from council. Again, with our first public meeting, respect to file number 0.1. Draft plan subdivision zoning bylaw amendment 2022-078 SNB 1192 County Road 7 and then here with us.
Through Chair, just a recommendation for council is staff are having this hearing council tonight, so when you're our answer, I'm sure what the issue is.
Hi there,
Your worship, could I interrupt for a second with a question of staff?
Sure.
Or probably the clerk. So my understanding is a public meeting is, we're just to get information tonight. Fair enough. There's a number of us are not going to be returning to this council table. Is there a reason why we're having these public meetings tonight for information when it will be then the new council who are not here that will be voting on any changes, any amendments or any changes? Just wondering why these public meetings couldn't be put on until December. Is it what's the reason why we're having them?
and clerk.
Through Chair to Councillor McKechnie, there was a request by the planning department to have these items on this agenda. Perhaps I can assist with reasons as to why they're in place.
Yes, thank you. Through your worship, to Councillor McKechnie. And apologies, there is still a little bit of delay in terms of the audio. So if I don't hear anything perfectly, apologies. In terms of the timing of the public meetings, the applicants are keen to proceed forward in terms of the timing to have the applications go before for approval. So that is kind of the initial intent to proceed at this point in time. I do recognize that new council will be coming in December in this last meeting here. But obviously we'll be open to further input from the new council should they have some moving forward in December. And obviously we'd like to gain any input from public at tonight's meeting.
Thank you. So we'll proceed.
That's fine. I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Inley, you've got the floor.
Thank you, worship. So my name is Nick Ainley. I'm a community planner here at Township of Clearview. I'm here tonight to facilitate two public meetings, actually. So the first one, if I'll just pull the slide up, if you'll hold on. Is everyone able to see the presentation material?
Yeah, you're good.
Excellent. So the first public meeting tonight is for a draft plan of subdivision amendment, red line revision, as well as a zoning bylaw amendment that's going concurrently. So these are for application files 2022-078-SD, as well as 2022-078-ZB. And these are in reference to the existing Clearview Park plan of subdivision, draft plan of subdivision, I should say. So in terms of subject lands themselves, so they're located at lands municipally known as 1192 County Road 7. So it's this hatched area here on the site. So this is located in the east end of the Stainer Settlement area. It's bounded by County Road 7 to the east. And then further to the south, you have Highway 26, and you have Mowat Street North to the west. So as I indicated, there's two applications tonight that are going concurrently for the same project. The first one is an application for draft plan of subdivision, which is amendment to that, or red line revision as it's referred to. And basically the proposed red line revision to the existing draft plan. So the existing draft plan, to back up, was originally draft plan approved in 2013 and was later extended in 2018. So the applicants are currently coming in to modify those original approvals and that original design. So in terms of the requested revisions, the applicants are seeking to make some adjustments to the existing lot and internal road fabrics. They are seeking to include a portion of an existing road allowance that's under their ownership that into the current draft plan. And they're also seeking to modify their configuration of the existing stormwater management block, as well as the future medium density development block within the development. In terms of the effect of the application tonight for the draft plan of subdivision redline revision, it's really to facilitate the amendments to that draft plan, and ultimately for the to facilitate the future development of a total of 294 residential units, a stormwater management block, park block, and future medium density block. So this is just an aerial imagery of the subject lands currently. As you can see here, it's primarily agricultural land at this point in time. It is located within the municipality's settlement area boundaries. The only difference currently is that they'd be seeking to add this component under their ownership, this road allowance, into the existing draft plan, which currently isn't a part of the existing draft plan. So this, might be a bit challenging to see in terms of scale. I'm not sure how it scales out for viewing, but this is the existing draft plan. So this was approved in 2013 and later extended through draft plan extension for additional 5 years in 2018. And this is the modified draft plan they're seeking to proceed with currently. So again, the biggest change really would be the incorporation of the additional unopened road allowance owned by the applicant. So you can see it's not currently located in the draft plan. And then there's also internal changes to the road fabric, which you can see located a bit more of a straight road here. So the lots get tightened up a little bit. They are proposing minor changes to the park block. They are seeking to remove the 60 single or semi-detached dwelling lots and replace them with singles, as well as changes to the existing medium density block located here, as well as the stormwater management block. They're seeking to square them off a little more. I understand the applicant, when they do their presentation, will go into a bit more detail, but so I'll leave it at that for the time being. So that was the draft plan of subdivision application or amendment 2. They're also seeking to proceed with the zoning bylaw amendment application at this point in time. And basically that application seeks to amend the zoning on the subject lands from its current DA zone or development area zone, which is basically a holding zone, to a residential multiple low density RS3 zone, a residential multiple low density exception RS3 exception zone, recreational lands or rec zone, as well as stormwater management facilities or stormwater or an SM zone. In terms of the site-specific exceptions to the RS3 zone, they are requesting to reduce the minimum lot areas on those lots to a minimum of 360 square meters versus the 400 minimum currently, as well as reduce the minimum lot frontages requirement from 13.5 to 12.2 meters. This is just a bit of a mocked up version of the proposed schedule or zoning bylaw amendment schedule showing the lands, the proposed portions of lands to be rezoned to which zone. So the lands identified in red hatching here are the ones to be zoned as residential or RS3 exception zone. So these zones would either be maintain frontages of 12.2 meters or minimum lot areas of 360 square meters or a combination of both. The lands that are outlined in blue are to be zoned RS3, so just our standard zones. So they would comply with all existing provisions within the RS3 zone of the township zoning bylaw. The lands to be zoned, the green here is the rec zone. So these are the parkland block. And they're also seeking to zone the stormwater management facilities block to stormwater management. This is the existing medium density block for future development, and they're seeking to leave this actually as development area, and they will want to come forward at a future date when they're ready to develop this to go forward with the site-specific amendment specifically for this design in the future. In terms of existing framework, policy framework, the current township's current official plan designates lands as residential, with a very small portion being designated as Greenland's natural hazard land area. And the current zoning category is development area DA zone. So in terms of notification, it was given in accordance with the Planning Act for the zoning bylaw amendment. This was done on October 18th, 2022. It was done via mailing out to all properties within 120 meters of the subject lands, as well as a posting of a sign on the property. Details of the application supporting material have been made available to the public, as well as been circulated to relevant commenting agencies. This is just a circulation map identifying all lands that would have received a mailing notification. So again, that properties outlined in yellow here would be the properties that received it, with the subject lands being located here. And in terms of public comments, typically we'd summarize the comments received from the public tonight, and I just advise that we have not received any formal comments from members of the public with respect to these applications. I did receive a few phone calls from the adjacent lands to the west, but more for information basis as opposed to submitting any formal comments. This is my contact information, so if anyone's watching and would like to follow up or have any further questions, feel free to reach out to myself. And in terms of general review process, so tonight is the public meeting, so no decisions are made. It's mainly to gain input from council members and the public. Following this meeting, staff will consider that all comments received, and then following that, staff will prepare a recommendation report to council. Council can choose to approve or deny the applications, and then following that, there is typically an appeal period. And if no appeals are filed or received, the decision comes into full force and effect. So that being said, that's my brief presentation. So typically I would just like to open the floor to the applicants if they are available. So they'll be providing a brief presentation, and then again, we'll pass it over to the chair to facilitate that component.
Thank you, Nick. The applicant or agent of the applicant.
Good evening, council.
Yes, please.
Hi, can you hear me all right and see me all right?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, perfect. Give me a second to share my screen here. I do have another brief presentation just to be supplemental to Nick's. Okay, so good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Carla Tamayo. I'm a planner with Innovative Planning Solutions. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant Sunrise Acquisition Stainer Inc. as it relates to the proposed applications for 1192 County Road 7. So as Nick had described, the subject matter is located within the Stainer settlement area, approximately 750 meters north of the intersection of Highway 26 and County Road 7. The site has an area of 26.75 hectares, or approximately 66.1 acres. The site has frontage along both County Road 7 and Mowat Street North, with approximately 240.5 meters of frontage along County Road 7 and 20.3 meters along Mowat Street North. So the site's currently vacant of buildings and vegetation, and it's generally flat in topography. It's being used in the interim for agricultural uses. A portion of the lands also forms roadways through the adjacent checkerboard subdivision, as Nick had pointed out earlier. So for surrounding context, the lands to the north include rural lands with agricultural uses. The site's bound to the east by County Road 7, while lands further east of County Road 7 include agricultural lands as well as natural heritage areas. The south and west lies the expanse of the Stainer settlement area. More specifically, the lands are bound to the south by future and ongoing residential and parkland development, specifically including development within the Nottawasaga Station subdivision. Further south lies Highway 26 and established residential uses. And to the west of the site lies vacant residential lots within the checkerboard subdivision, as well as Mowat Street North. And then the lands west of Mowat Street include open space lands associated with Clearview Eco Park. So Nick briefly touched on this, but I also want to run through a brief summary of the development history on the site. So in November 2013, the township provided approval for draft plan of subdivision and official plan amendment applications for the lands. The draft plan extension was then granted in 2018 with a current draft plan approval to expire in November 2023. So that's about a year from today. It is our understanding that a zoning bylaw amendment application was also previously submitted concurrently with the applications in 2013, but that this zoning bylaw amendment application was not further processed and ultimately closed due to inactivity. 2021 is when the applicant purchased the lands from the previous developer, which is why we're before you tonight, as it is our intent to support the continued development of the lands, which includes the rezoning of the lands in alignment with the official plan amendment that was approved in 2013, as well as in alignment with tonight's proposed draft plan amendment. So as Nick has mentioned, the lands are currently designated residential and greenland hazard lands in the township's official plan. And Nick also outlined that they are currently zone development area within the township zoning bylaw. And it seems Nick and I had kind of the same line of thinking here with this slide, but we are proposing amendment to the current draft approved plan from 2013. And the 2013 is shown on top here and facilitates the development of 304 dwelling units, while the bottom plan is our proposed draft plan facilitating a total of 294 residential units. And I'll detail the proposed revisions over the next few slides here. So starting at the west end of the property, the proposed draft plan amendment now incorporates additional lands, as Nick had mentioned, that provide connection to and frontage along Mowich Street North. These lands did not form part of the applications back in 2013, as noted in the top image, but it was discovered earlier this year by the applicant's lawyer and then confirmed by the township solicitor that these lands do form part of the subject lands currently, as seen in the bottom image. So ultimately, these lands will be dedicated to the township as municipal right-of-ways. Within the northeast portion of the site, the proposed amendment seeks to remove semi-detached units and replace them with single detached units. So looking at the image on the top, and if you can follow my cursor here along streets A and B, the residential development here is currently approved for semi-detached blocks. Whereas looking at the bottom image, we have replaced the semi-detached blocks with single detached units. So for example, looking at the top image, just at the southwest corner of Street A and Street B, there are currently 3 semi-detached blocks here fronting Street A, so a total of 6 semi-detached units. And then looking back at the bottom image, you can see that we've replaced them with 4 single detached lots. So this is just one example of where we've kind of done that trade-off. Then lastly, looking at the east end of the property, the proposed draft plan amendment seeks the reconfiguration of both the future development block and the adjacent stormwater management block. And the rationale here is really just to avoid that irregular block fabric provided through the draft plan approved plan in 2013, as seen on the image in the left. And so all we've really done here is square off these blocks, offer more regular lot lines that allow for the most efficient use of lands, as seen on the image on the right. So all in all, through the proposed amendments, the proposed draft plan will provide for 294 single detached lots. A 2.6 hectare block will provide for future medium density development. The draft plan will maintain a designated parkland block and stormwater management block. The road configuration has largely been maintained from the 2013 draft approved plan, and it's been maintained that the lands will be serviced through expansions to municipal water and sewer systems. To facilitate the proposal, a zoning bylaw amendment will be required as outlined. And we have 4 distinct zones that we're proposing. That's a multiple low density RS3 zone and RS3 with exceptions zone, a recreational land zone, and a stormwater management facility zone. And as Nick had also mentioned, the development area shown in pink is proposed to be the future development block is proposed to be maintained development area until the lands are to be redeveloped in the future. The requested special provisions for the RS3 exception zone are currently being reviewed by planning staff for compliance with the intent and objectives of official plan policies and the provisions of the zoning bylaw. So this slide outlines the supporting materials that we've submitted in support of the applications, with these requirements having been determined through pre-consultation with township staff. So this includes a planning justification report, an updated functional servicing and preliminary stormwater management report, an updated traffic impact study, preliminary geotechnical investigation, and a stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment. So real briefly, from policy perspective, and understanding that the draft plan of subdivision and official plan amendment applications were approved in 2013, then the draft plan extension approved in 2018, we completed our policy review to ensure that the proposed revisions and proposed rezoning maintain alignment with current applicable planning policies. So to this end, the proposal directs development towards the Stainer settlement area, which adheres to provincial and county planning directives. The development maintains a mix of housing type, sizes, and densities through the proposed single detached units and future medium density block. The development continues to support the achievement of the township's minimum density target, providing 37.11 residents and jobs combined per hectare. The development maintains dedicated parkland space with connections to adjacent parkland and trail networks along County Road 7 to promote active transportation. And ultimately, the applications will facilitate the land use approvals required to support the registration of the subdivision, facilitating the provision of much needed housing stock within the township. So in summary, draft plan and official plan amendment approvals were received for the site in 2013, with the current draft plan approval extension to expire on November 18th, 2023. And the proposal before you tonight is a draft plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate the continued development of the lands. And to summarize, the proposed draft plan amendment accommodates for 294 single detached lots, a reconfigured future developments and stormwater management blocks, a revised road network to reflect the additional lands that were discovered to be owned by the applicant and which provide connection to Mowat Street North. The proposed ZBA will rezone the lands into 4 distinct zones in alignment with the proposed draft plan amendment. And in conclusion, it is our professional opinion that the proposed applications comply with all levels of planning policy, bolster growth targets, and represent good planning. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions of clarification. I also want to mention that I have with me tonight Michael Busk from Tatham Engineering, who will also be happy to answer any questions on this.
Thank you for your presentation. Does anyone in the audience wish to make a comment, ask a question, or address council with respect to this application? Questions may be directed to or responded to by the applicant or agent or staff, but should be addressed through me, the chair. Please remember to complete and submit your delegation form. If anybody from the gallery wishes
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good evening. Your Worship, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a little bit far away from Toronto. And I tell you one thing, if I had a choice when I retire, when that day comes, I'd love to move up here. I'd like to speak a little bit about my clients, Sunset Homes, Sunrise Homes. They've been in business for a number of years. They've done work in Toronto, they've done work in Barrie, they've done work in Markham. And lately, they anchored themselves in your community. They own this property that we talked about and the property just to the east of it. They want to be a member of the community. They want to give to the community. As an example, last year they made a donation to the library. Some of you were there when they came back and they donated at the food bank, and they're certainly looking forward to coming back again this year. So this is not a developer that wants to come in, as many developers do, develop, cut, and run. This is a developer that wants to stay, be part of the community, and to grow the community, and certainly make this community a community of the future. We heard that the government of Canada will allow up to 500,000 people to come in, and those people will need homes, and those homes will be, you can't stack everybody in Mississauga and Toronto and Markham. You need more places for people to move, and you need more places for people to grow. This is a community that has future. This is a community that can grow, and certainly the developer that I represent is certainly looking to work with the community and the council to make sure that we arrive there. Thank you, Your Worship.
thank you for your comments. Now, is anybody in the audience who has questions? Anybody in staff? Once? Is there anybody from council? Anybody? And Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Has the owner thought about a little higher density? Have you talked about the duplex, get rid of the 3 duplex, put 4 single families? Maybe those, that lot where those 4 single family units, where it could be a 3-story apartment building, so instead of 4 families, could maybe have 12. I'm looking at attainable housing. And this is what I'm thinking of. You know, we keep talking about development, and it's great to see development. Somehow we have to get the developers on side to realize that not everybody can afford the large homes, that we need some type of cheaper version in apartment buildings. I mean, fit in with 3 or 4 apartment buildings, not high, but in certain areas, I think some developments where they would not look at the character.
And so I'm just asking the developers, please take a look at that to see if that's a possibility, because there are lots of single family people, seniors that are looking for smaller apartments to rent that don't want to leave Clearview, but there is nothing here. So I'm just throwing that little biscuit out there, and hopefully that some developers will pick that up and try and fit some of that into some of the development.
Thank you, Robert, for your comments. Is there anybody else on council? Any questions? See, okay. This concludes the public meeting with respect to this file. We thank all who attended and provided comments for their interest in this matter. All input received with regard to this proposal will be fully considered by staff and a recommendation by council and their decision with respect to this application. A report regarding this proposal will be prepared for council and will make a decision concerning this matter at a future meeting. So it will be the next council that will be deciding how this goes forward. We'll now proceed with our next one, which is 6.2. And I believe Mr. Hayden is looking after this one as well. This is a township public meeting once again. All the rules I said before apply. And Mr. Haley, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, city staff, and the public that's in attendance. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening on behalf of my client, Estates of Clearview, Inc. My name is Joseph Platino. I'm an accredited professional planner with the Canadian Institute of Planners and a registered professional in Ontario with 33 years of experience. I'm here today with a junior planner from my firm. His name is Ulysses Perkinder, and my company is Mainline Planning Services. We are.
If I could just say, sorry. Ned, are you there by any chance?
I am, Your Worship. Apologies, I was having a little trouble with the mute button there.
So I'm sorry, the other gentleman it's appropriate for our staff to do their presentation first.
Yeah.
And then we'll let you go ahead. We seem to have lost Mr. Maynard there. So we'll let him do this part and then we'll go back to you, okay?
Happily, thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm here tonight to facilitate the second public meeting, which is for zoning bylaw amendment 2022-079ZB. So this affects lands located within the larger Estates of Clearview development. So it is a development block located within those lands. So it is located at 6934 and 7044 Highway 26, but it's not the entire property. It's just a portion of it, which bounds bordered by Highway 26 to the south. So it's approximately this section of the site here. And this is a bit more of an aerial overview of the development block that's currently in question tonight. So that's the entire site in terms of the aerial view. And again, Highway 26 here. And then the future road coming through would be Junction Road within the Estates of Clearview subdivision, going from east to west. And then there is a north to south connection on Grand Trunk Road. So in terms of the proposal, it's a zoning bylaw application. So the amendment seeks to rezone the portion of subject lands from development area, the DA zone, to a large format commercial exception hold zone, or C4 exception hold zone. The requested exception in terms of the C4XX, that's the exception, it seeks to include medical clinic as an additional permitted use on the subject lands, in addition to all the uses permitted within the current C4 zone. As well as alter the following provisions of the comprehensive zoning bylaw. So it seeks to increase the maximum front yard setback from 5 to 17 meters, reduce the minimum interior side yard setback from 15 to 9, as well as reduce the loading space requirement for food lands or retail store from 4 to 1. The applicant is also seeking to remove building supply outlet as well as banquet hall from the existing uses permitted within the C4 zone. So those would no longer be permitted on the site under the current C4 or proposed C4 exception hold zone. The effective applications permit the development of a food land retail store at the corner of Junction Road and Grand Trunk Road, located within the Estates of Clearview development, with additional road frontage. With additional two 2 additional commercial buildings located along the frontage of Highway 26. So we have not received a site plan at this point in time, but this is a concept that's submitted by the applicant. So again, so subject lands are bounded by the red hashed area. So the proposed Foodland retail grocery store relocated inwards of the property here, with parking located centrally, and then the 2 proposed smaller commercial buildings located at the front of the site. It is supposed to be a phased development, it's being phase 1 with phase 2 located to the west. This will be developed in a future phase, but it's not being currently contemplated as a part of the site plan at this point in time. In terms of existing policy framework, the subject lands are designated commercial within the township Clearview's official plan and are currently zoned as development area or DA zone. Notice of the subject zoning bylaw amendment application was given in accordance to the Planning Act. This was done on October 18th, 2022. It was done via mailing and mailing out to all properties within 120 meters of subject lands, as well as posting with sign the property. Details of the application and supporting materials have been made available to the public and have also been circulated to relevant comment agencies. This again, just a circulation map identifying the lands that were notified via mail. Again, all the areas in yellow were mail notification. In terms of public comments, we have not received any comments from the public to date with respect to the current application. Again, here's my contact information for anyone in the public who would be viewing tonight would like to contact me if they have any questions about the proposal. And then similar to the previous process, tonight is the public meeting, so no decisions are made. However, we do receive input from the general public as well as council members. Staff will consider these comments that are received, and we will proceed with preparing a recommendation report to council for their consideration. Council can choose to approve or deny the application, and there is an appeal period that follows. And if no appeals are received, the decision comes into full force and effect. So that concludes my brief presentation tonight, and I understand that the applicant will be providing a presentation as well. So I'll pass the floor over to Mr. Platino.
Thank you again, Nick, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Just continuing, I'm here today with my junior planner, Ulysses Perkinder. We are the owner's representative with respect to this application. And it's my pleasure actually to introduce Ulysses as he is making his first career presentation to the public today. And I hope that you'll support him and welcome him to achieve this milestone moment in his career. Following the presentation, both Ulysses and I will be available to respond to any questions if needed. And I thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ulysses.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. The proposal is to amend the bylaw to support commercial development on lands known as 6934 and 7044 Highway 26. This site is on a lot on a registered plan of subdivision known to you as Grand Clearview Estates. The residential subdivision surrounding this property is currently under construction by McPherson Builders. Subject property is more precisely located on the south side of Junction Road, the west side of Grand Trunk Road, and immediately north of Highway 26. The bylaw will highlight the development of a Foodland grocery store as the primary tenant on this property, together with commercial tenancies within 2 smaller buildings located along the property's Highway 26 frontage. We are requesting a C4 zone with the following exceptions: to add a medical clinic to the list of permitted uses, to permit a maximum front yard setback of 17 meters, whereas the bylaw allows 5 meters, to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback of 9 meters, whereas the bylaw allows 15 meters, to remove building supply outlet and banquet halls from the list of permitted uses, and to include a hold symbol with the following conditions that are to be satisfied prior to removal of the hold.
I'm not sure that they're aware.
Sorry?
Sarah, if you can just